All right, so I did not do a very good job of cutting around this. You know, doing a herringbone style definitely takes a lot of energy with the layout, setting it, and something around the niche like this, I just wasn't taking my time. And so you can see here, I'm definitely off, but it's not gonna be any big deal because we're using a pencil trim that gives me some flexibility. So, you know, I always recommend trying to use some kind of edging, especially if you're a beginner, that is gonna be a little bit more flexible and something that you can address afterwards. And, you know, there's a lot of shower systems that you're not gonna be able to do what I'm about to do. Mainly because a lot of shower systems, it's only topical membrane that's actually waterproof. And so when you cut into, you know, cut into the board, you're kind of compromising the waterproofing. But with HYDRO-BLOK, it's completely waterproof all the way through. So as long as I don't penetrate and cut all the way through the board, I'm in good shape. So I'm able to scribe cut this in place after having the towel set. So let me show you how to go about straightening this out and making this look professional. It does look bad.
And it's just the top that really.
Yeah, I know. I definitely should have replaced that.
That's really the worst part, is right there.
Okay, so what my plan was with this pencil, this is a different type of pencil, honestly. This is 3/4 inch, and as you can see, it has the bull nose on the one side, and this is gonna meet up with my tile around the edge. So my initial intent was to have this overhang the niche so that I can build up the layer underneath of this. So right now, you know, even on this bottom, I got a 1/2 inch of wiggle room. So I can cut this down and be fine. Same with the top. You know, you can see here, it's really far off. But even, you know, right there, I'm about 5/8 of an inch. So I can come all the way up and still be able to cut that. So I'm gonna just go off of my screw, you know, basically my highest cut and straighten this out. You know, these things really help out a lot. These are these Sharpie peel off markers. It's kind of like a crayon. So you're able to get some really accurate cuts with it. So just go ahead and just use a level. Okay, so that's what I need to cut. And then I'm just gonna go all the way down along here because I really don't have much room here. And this is like jetting out like 3/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna cut this down as well. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna cut all the way around here. So yeah, I was unlevel and I wasn't exactly in the right position. Okay, so I do recommend, well, I don't really recommend, I don't really recommend taking off the guard, but it is going to be really helpful because I really need to see this blade. This is a very accurate cut that I need to make here. The other thing is you can see I'm using a really small blade and how thin this blade is too. That kind of helps out a lot. But this is a Montolit 3 3/8 inch blade. This is great for little small cuts like this. It's going to help me prevent from going too far into the wall and jeopardizing the waterproofing, but also since it's a very thin blade, I have some pretty good accuracy. But taking off that guard is going to allow me to really see this, and then we'll just basically just try to cut the line, you know. And if you screw up, you know, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to have to take out a piece of towel and recut it. So there's always a way to fix your problem. What's that?
What brand of tool is that?
This?
Yeah.
It's Milwaukee. Doesn't look like it. These corners are always problems because you can't really overcut, but ceramic actually does make it pretty easy because you can just kind of scrape it away. And you might have to You might have to notch a little bit of the pencil trim to make that work too. Just make sure that you cut that all the way over. That's the biggest thing. You just take a sanding pad. Yeah, it's going to fit much, much nicer. Quarter inch there. Got plenty of room on this side. This side has a little less. So it's a little thin here. About a quarter inch, you know, so depending on, I might have to like grind down the back of the quarter inch board for this side just because how much more this is coming over. But all in all, I'm pretty happy. So we can go ahead and set these pencil trims tonight and then tomorrow do the inside. But you can do it all at once too. I mean, you don't have to do any more today if you don't want. Okay, so let's just find the centers of all of this. That's the center mark there. Center mark there. Okay, so that's all the center marks there. So the way this is going to work, we're just going to basically, because obviously that doesn't fit the whole thing. It would have been, you know, you could have shrunk this whole thing and made that just be one solid piece, but we didn't. So so this little corner here, this is where it's going to be nice to just take a little bit off the back of these. Because I wasn't able to cut all the way through there, it's just going to be easier just to grind. Just grind onto that little point so it doesn't interfere with that corner. Allow me to get right into that corner nicely. Okay, so you don't actually have to use thin set if you don't want to. You could just use some sealant. So that's what I'm going to do here. And then when I do the sides, I'll put some thin set up against there to also support this. But honestly, the sealant in some ways is just going to be a little bit easier because it just kind of grabs a little bit easier. Let's use these little precision wedges. Because you do want to have just a little bit of a gap so that that grout can fit into there. But then it'll work. So I got 6 3/8. Okay, so this actually really will help to have all these edging on here before we do the inside, because now we can just build everything up and even everything up to the edge of our trim. So, you know, pencil trim definitely takes a little bit of patience, especially when you have to cut it. So if you had a nice solid piece, it would make this a little bit less troublesome, but it definitely gives a nice look. Just trying to make sure that all this stuff is even. Looks good. Okay. All right, so now we can go ahead and finish off our niche. This does make it a lot easier having all those trim pieces in here, because now, you know, nothing's gonna move on us. It was always troublesome to try to do this all at once. So taking your time, you know, and doing it on multiple days does help out. So 11 3/4, we'll make the base. Basically, we're gonna set all of the sides and then just put the back in. Make sure it's pitching, because you don't want water sitting on that sill. You just need a little bit, but now you can make it all nice and even. And it really does make a nice, easy sill there. All right, well, you know, I mean, once I caulk these corners, I mean, you're really not going to see too much of a difference, but I definitely could have done this better with making sure that this back was completely even.
What color caulking are you going to use?
I'm using the white epoxy, so it's just gonna be white, right?
Once you get everything in, it adds an unexpected touch of whimsy. I love it.
All right. If I would spend a little bit more time, that's all right. You know, I usually say that grouting is not gonna hide anything, it only accentuates it, but in this instance, like these corners, it will. I mean, once you caulk this corner, I mean, you're really not gonna even see that small piece. So, you know, honestly, you can always do something better. There's every single tile job, there's always something that I could have gone back and done a little bit better. That's definitely gonna be one of them for me on this job.
How would you grade yourself on this one?
A B. Yeah,
Too hard on yourself.
I could have done better.
I'd give you a B+.